He signed his name at the bottom of pages that moved mountains. Doors opened before he arrived, not because someone held them, but because people felt him coming. 40 floors above the city, behind glass that caught the sunrise like it had been made only for him, Youssef had built a life most men only dream about. His name was on buildings. His voice was on the radio. His photograph hung in the lobby of his own company, taken on the day he opened the doors for the first time. Young, certain, untouchable. No one warned him that the higher you build, the longer the fall. It did not collapse all at once. A contract fell through. A partner stopped returning calls. A number in a report felt wrong, but a man in a suit explained it with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Youssef had grown accustomed to people who smiled too much. For 3 months, he told himself the ground was still under his feet. Then, the bank called. Not asking, but informing. Offices that had hummed with 30 voices fell to 10, then 5, then 1. Dina, his assistant of 7 years, sat at her desk long after her last paycheck, organizing files that would never be opened again. She did not speak. She sharpened pencils no one would use. That quiet image stayed with him longer than any celebration ever had. By winter, the car was gone. By spring, the apartment. His wife, Sana, was not cruel. She had built her life inside a life he had promised would hold. When it did not, she packed 2 bags, one for herself, one for their daughter, and stood at the door, waiting for permission to grieve. She did not shout. She did not curse. She kissed his cheek as someone kisses a person they have already said goodbye to in their heart, and left. The door closed. The room, once full of furniture, now felt empty in a way that no decoration could fix. He moved above a bakery in a part of the city he had never visited. The landlord, Abu Kamel, walked with a cane, asked no questions, charged little. At night, Youssef sat by the window facing a blank wall, listening to the city breathe without him, unbothered, like the ocean continues without a ship. Pride is the last thing to die inside a man like that. For weeks, he refused to ask for work. He had offered work. He had created work. He had stood on stages, spoken about vision and legacy to men who took notes and applauded. He could not become someone who waits in line. So he ate less, walked more, wore his old suits until the elbows thinned, telling himself each morning that something would change. A call, a door, a man who remembered what he had built. Nothing called. No door opened. It was a child, no older than 7, selling water in the afternoon heat, who broke the last wall of his pride. The boy handed him a cup without asking, looked at his tired eyes, and passed the water as if he already knew the thirst inside. Youssef drank and felt something in his chest give way, not violently, but like old wood bending. He wept. The boy pretended not to see. He began to learn things he had never had time to learn. How to wait. How to speak less. How to sit with uncertainty without filling it with plans. He took a job keeping records for a small merchant who smelled of cardamom and never mentioned having heard his name. Youssef was quietly grateful. He filed papers, counted inventory, came home to the room above the bakery, where the smell of bread at 4 in the morning became comfort he had never known. He remembered those he had dismissed, a man he had fired publicly to make a point, a supplier he had humiliated over a small mistake. He thought about them not with guilt that sought forgiveness, but with the slow, wordless understanding that comes when you finally stand where someone else once stood. Justice, he came to believe, does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a small room and a window facing a wall. Sometimes it arrives as a child offering water. Sometimes it simply arrives as time, long, patient, unhurried, stripping away everything you used your power to avoid feeling, leaving you alone with yourself, the one encounter no amount of success can permanently postpone. He did not rebuild what he had lost. That is not where this story ends. He wrote a letter once, to Dina, his former assistant, and thanked her for staying when she had no reason to. He never knew if she read it. He mailed it anyway, walked back to the merchant's shop through streets of ordinary people living ordinary lives, and for the first time in as long as he could remember, he did not feel that he was falling through them. He felt, quietly and without ceremony, that he had finally landed.